My brother put on a scary mask to frighten my girlfriend while she was sleeping, which caused her sleep disorder to kick in. She ended up hitting him in self-defense. Now my family wants me to break up with her. I'm 27 years old and I've been dating my girlfriend Lola, who's 22, for about 2 years now. Overall, things between us have been great. However, my younger brother Ian, who's also 22, has always acted strangely whenever Lola is mentioned or around. Ian and I are usually very close and talk to each other every day, but whenever I bring up anything about Lola, the conversation tends to shift. I used to think maybe he was jealous of the time I spent with her or perhaps had a small crush on her. Whenever we'd all hang out together, Ian would make comments about our age difference, tease me for being in a relationship, and joke about Lola's sleep disorder. Ian has always enjoyed playing pranks, whether he's the prankster or the one being pranked. He loves to laugh, and I genuinely believe that when he played pranks, it was his way of sharing laughter. However, when he tried to prank Lola, he would do things that triggered her sleep disorder, like making sudden loud noises, jumping out to scare her, and once I caught him before he attempted the shaving cream prank while she was napping in the guest room. I warned him more seriously that he shouldn't mess with her while she's sleeping because it could disrupt her sleep cycles, which isn't good for her. At best, she becomes very cranky when she's woken up abruptly. Ian seemed to understand, and I thought that was the end of it. Recently, I threw a party at night and invited Ian along with a bunch of our friends, including Lola's friends. Everyone was having a good time, and Lola went off to take a nap after we set an alarm for her. She left with a sleepy smile, and I continued enjoying the party. Later on, we all heard a scream, followed by swearing and something breaking. I panicked because the noise came from my room where Lola was napping, and I rushed there, almost kicking the door down. When I entered, I saw Lola had pushed someone down and was yelling at them. I realized it was Ian wearing a spider mask that I recognized from years ago. He was scrambling to get away, but she only stopped when 3 of her friends pushed past me to pull her up and check on her before she ultimately passed out in their arms. Ian scrambled off the floor and ripped the mask off, revealing the damage she had managed to do in the time it took us to react. He started crying, telling me that she was insane and abusive, and that he only wanted to make sure she wasn't going to sleep through the ball drop. At this point, everyone started yelling. Ian looked terrified and kept repeating that she was crazy and that I shouldn't be with someone who could do this to her boyfriend's brother. Some of my friends were yelling that if she did it to him, she could do it to me. All of her friends were screaming about how he should know to leave a sleeping girl alone and how it was creepy. Ian ended up calling our mom to tell her that Lola had hurt him, and she was furious. Lola's friends ended up carrying her out against my protests, and my friends were nearly split down the middle. I remember standing there while everyone argued, the ball dropped, my mother calling me for the 10th time, and Lola finally texting me that she needed space to think. Since then, we've lightly texted. She's expressed that she can't shake her fear of what happened, but she still hasn't told me her side of the story. Ian and my mom are trying to convince me to break up with her, chastising me for not helping or standing up for my brother when he was being assaulted, and demanding an apology for not playing my part as an older brother. Ian has FaceTimed a few other family members, and now my aunt, who paid for both our colleges and the house my mom and brother live in and helped me get my apartment, is taking the 3-hour drive up to make sure her boys are okay. This situation is really stressing me out. On one hand, I feel like I should stand up for my family who helped raise me and shaped me into who I am today. But on the other hand, Lola is my girlfriend and I adore her. I love her deeply and I feel like I should protect her. Not talking to her hurts in a different way. Ian is convinced that he was just playing a harmless prank and was unfairly punished for trying to ensure everyone had fun. I'm not sure if I believe that, but Ian and I have been close for 22 years. Growing up, we were inseparable, and I don't want to doubt him just because I might be blinded by love. How do I approach the situation with Lola? How can I convince my family that Lola isn't a threat? She's honestly the sweetest and most caring person. Part of me feels like she was pushed to that point. Some comments from others have made me think deeper. One person mentioned that it's strange my brother was in my room when Lola was sleeping there alone. They suggested asking Lola calmly what really happened. Another pointed out the oddity of my brother wearing a mask during the incident. It suddenly occurred to me that Lola has severe arachnophobia, and the mask was of a spider. I know this about her, and I'm trying to figure out if Ian knew that or if it was just bad luck that he chose to pull this prank with such enthusiasm. It seems like you're seeking advice, but your brother's behavior sounds immature. Instead of worrying about the age gap in your relationship, maybe he should focus on his own maturity level. Pranks aren't funny, especially when they're targeted at someone who's sleeping. That's just creepy. Your brother's actions are messed up, and it makes me wonder if he's jealous of your girlfriend or has a crush on her. My advice to you is to stand up for yourself and distance yourself from your dysfunctional dysfunctional family or consider splitting with your girlfriend so she can find someone with a more normal family background. Your brother's attempt to downplay what he did suggests he's trying to avoid looking like the bad guy, but he knew his actions were wrong. What he did was planned and cruel, and he should face the consequences. Lola was caught off guard while not fully conscious, triggering her fight or flight response. It's important to support her and ask for her forgiveness, especially considering how terrifying the situation must have been for her. On another note, after my dad left, everyone on my mom's side came together to help her get back on her feet. After my mom lost her house and was on the verge of losing custody of my sister and me, it was a tough time. She had us when she was young, and unfortunately she couldn't finish high school while taking care of young twins, especially with my grandmother passing away soon after. However, my aunts and extended family all came together to support us. They helped raise us, ensured my mom got the assistance she needed, and made sure we had what we needed for school and life. They saved us from homelessness and much worse. I have immense respect and gratitude for my family because of what they did for me. My aunt personally tutored me after I was diagnosed with a learning disability, and it was because of her that I made it through high school, let alone college. I used to joke that I wanted to be like her when I grew up. Now knowing that the same people who I owe my life to are upset with a choice I made fills me with anxiety. It's like I freeze up just thinking about it, similar to how I froze up in that room with Lola. I love her, I know I do, but I'm feeling flustered and unsure of what to do. Edit. Thank you to everyone who has shared their advice and opinions, both in comments and DMs, even the more blunt and rude ones. It's helped me realize that I may be hurting my girlfriend as well. She called me a few minutes ago, and hearing her voice made me so happy. Although she sounded quieter than her usual bubbly self, she didn't say much other than asking if I was okay and if we could talk tomorrow. I wanted nothing more than to keep talking to her. I apologized repeatedly, but she thanked me for apologizing and kept changing the subject to where we should meet tomorrow. We agreed to meet at her favorite creep and tea spot, a place that holds sentimental value for us. After she hung up, I realized I couldn't remain impartial. My aunt will soon be at my mom's place, and I've been pacing my living room, planning how to approach this with my family. I don't want to be rude, but I won't let my tone or language stop me from doing what I know I should have done from the start. Ian has offered many excuses, but none of them justify what he's put her through, and I regret letting it slide for no good reason. Hearing her voice and sensing her sadness made me feel ready to address the situation. She might decide to break up with me, and after reflecting on all your comments, I'm disgusted with my own actions. I understand now that just because family has done a lot for me, it doesn't mean I'm indebted to them and can't have my own opinions or life. Thank you to everyone who reached out with advice and support. I appreciate those who were honest, even if it was harsh. Yesterday was hectic with police involvement and packing to deal with, so I don't have time to go into all the details. However, many of you advised me to wait for Lola to tell me her side before I confront my family. Yesterday morning, they all came over to my apartment while I was in the middle of drafting a list of questions for them. I was supposed to go over these questions with them the night before, but I texted them asking for more time and if we could meet later in the day. Clearly unhappy with my request, they showed up unannounced. The argument erupted almost instantly, catching me off guard at first, but I quickly matched their energy and started yelling back at them. I confronted them about their enabling behavior towards Ian and expressed disbelief that they would take his side. My aunt got in my face about disrespect, while my mom cried and my brother cursed at me. But I didn't back down, telling them that if they genuinely thought Lola was the problem, they were victim-blaming idiots. Despite my mom's continued tears, I managed to get my aunt's attention by showing her the computer screen. I was going through comments to compile my questions. After a moment, she turned back to us, particularly my brother, and asked, "What is this?" I explained that I had posted on Reddit seeking help. He stopped comforting my mom and pushed past me to reach the computer, questioning my right to share family matters online. My aunt intervened, asking why he hadn't told them he was alone with Lola and that she was asleep. At this point, all chaos broke loose. My mom's crying stopped abruptly and she looked at my aunt in confusion, while Ian shook his head, sticking to his version of the story. Listening to his version of events was infuriatingly inaccurate. Not only did he tell mom and our extended family a skewed story where Lola was portrayed as overly violent when he attempted to startle her from behind a door, but he conveniently left out any details that painted him in a negative light. I called him out for lying, which made him cry and accuse me of lying to defend my girlfriend. At the sight of my brother in tears, my mom begged us to stop, while my aunt continued scrolling through the screen. It felt like both an eternity and a fleeting moment as we yelled at each other about the events of the night, his manipulative use of tears to get his way, and his accusations of my ingratitude, among other things. Unfortunately, I lost track of our volume, and sometime later there was a knock at the door. Unsure of who it could be, part of me hoped it was Lola, although deep down I knew it wasn't. To my surprise, it was two police officers responding to a noise complaint from one of our neighbors. Feeling embarrassed, I explained that we were having a heated argument but assured them that no one was in danger. I allowed them to look around and talk to my mom and brother. However, my aunt spoke up when it seemed like they were about to give us a warning. I actually think it's good that you're here, she said, motioning to Ian, whose eyes darted between her and the officers. Despite still looking angry, my aunt directed her glare at Ian. You know, hypothetically, if someone touches or hits you without permission or justified reason, that's something you can and should report. Is there anything you want to say? Silence filled the room as everyone's eyes shifted around, processing the weight of her words. My aunt's expression didn't seem like she was encouraging him to report it. It hit me that she was actually calling him out. I stared at him, noticing his bulging eyes and panicked look, reminiscent of the other night when he was trying to escape from Lola. One of the officers asked if everything was all right, and Ian immediately burst into tears like clockwork. My mom asked him what was wrong, and I told her she had to stop babying him. I pointed out that he had been lying to them, and my aunt asked him again if he had anything to report. You were up in arms against this girl this morning. Where did all that fire go? Did she hit you or not? It took a while of us pushing him, but he finally admitted to the room that he didn't have anything to report because he didn't think she'd be rightfully prosecuted. His next story sounded closer to the one I knew. He confessed to knowing Lola had gone to sleep and wanted to scare her awake. He admitted to putting on a mask, knowing she found them creepy, and that no one else was in the room with him. He couldn't convince any of our friends to participate in the prank, so he did it himself. He said he started making sounds against the wall, which the bed was against, and then got close to screaming in her face. He described how she surprised him by going for his throat instead of reacting with fear or panic as he expected. He detailed his assault to everyone in the room, some of whom I noticed had the officers exchanging looks. That's when I felt the urge to hit him, and I'm sure if the police weren't there, I would have. When he mentioned that she was sleeping, it completely changed his entire story. My mom started crying even more, and my aunt chewed him out, along with everyone else scolding him for his foolish behavior. The officers explained that if what he said was true, Lola acted in self-defense. They also asked my mom's permission to question him further, expressing concern about his behavior and whether he posed a danger to himself or others. My aunt and I told the cops that he was 22 and an adult, so they didn't need her permission. Despite his age, he looked much younger. One of the officers sat down with him to discuss his thought process, while the other explained to my mom and aunt that pressing charges against Ian seemed likely based on his story. My aunt still looked furious, while my mom cried, feeling confused and distressed over her son's actions. She even looked at me, expressing her disbelief at how her son could do such a thing. I realized I couldn't thrive in the toxic environment of my family, and I needed to get away if I wanted to heal and grow. Feeling overwhelmed, I texted a friend who lives across the city asking if I could stay with him for a while to give myself space to think clearly. My aunt saw me in my room making these arrangements but didn't stop me. Instead, she asked if I had spoken to Lola about the situation, and I told her I hadn't yet, but I planned to. She apologized for believing my brother without considering any other perspective and expressed her hope that Lola was okay. Once everyone had left, including the police and my mom with my crying brother, my aunt hugged me and apologized again for her and her sister's behavior. She reassured me that I didn't owe her anything but expressed her desire to know that Lola was all right. With the apartment empty, I headed to my friend's house, where I'll be staying until further notice. As for Lola, yes, we did meet. Despite my excitement to see her, I knew many of you had warned me that she might break up with me, so I was prepared for that possibility whether I ended up single or not. Above all, I wanted to ensure Lola's well-being. I acknowledge that I don't deserve her as a girlfriend, and I'd rather she be safe, even if it means not being with me. She brought a friend with her, and we all sat down to talk. I showed them both the Reddit post, and Lola requested that I refrain from sharing any more information about her until she feels ready. She has approved the information I'm sharing here. However, she did express concern about the post and preferred if I had given her a heads up beforehand. After offering to take the post down, she only asked for time and requested that her personal life and opinions be kept out of further discussions unless she indicates otherwise. In short, she did break up with me. When I mentioned the possibility of pressing charges to her, her friend friend laughed, indicating they were well aware. Lola thanked everyone for their concern and expressed hope that we both learn from this experience. My mom has been calling and texting, expressing her distress over the situation and blaming Lola. I've blocked my brother after he left my apartment, and I've also blocked my mom. My aunt has informed me that she will talk to my mom, but I'm uncertain about the outcome. I understand that this isn't what everyone wanted, but it's not what I wanted either. To those who have criticized me, I understand. I appreciate all the advice I've received. I'll be taking a break not only from the chaos in my life but also from Reddit. I recognize that I have a lot of growing to do, and I can't do that in this environment. Thank you again to everyone.